My name's Dave Williams. We're here at Creebank, which is our property here in Vacy, which is 30 minutes out of Maitland in the Hunter Valley. I'm fourth generation dairy farmer. Yeah, our family's been dairying in the Hunter here since the early 1900s. My grandfather and father bought this farm back about 70 years ago. It was rather run down, undulating farm, and yeah, we've gradually improved it over the years. We're milking 350 mostly Jersey cows at the moment, and our production is approximately 2 million litres a year. In regards to the weather here, it seems to have got more extreme to what the variable climate that we usually have. The last drought was a little bit worse than probably any other drought we've had, and at the current time it's probably a little bit wetter than it's ever been before. So yeah, it definitely seems to be changing. The heat that we had back in about 2018, that was pretty extreme, and the cows were out in the heat. That really affected their production. It knocked milk production and it knocked fertility as well. They just didn't have a chance to cool down, which is one of the reasons why the shed's so good. We built the shed in February 2019. The temperature is way cooler than outside. It's just, the comfort level is just incredible. On a hot afternoon, you can milk the cows, put them back in here for an hour or so until the sun goes down, and then you can let them out. And we found out that this just saved them from cooking over the summer. The main reason that we built it was because of wet weather that we usually get around about May, June. It's worked out really well. This year in particular, when we've had one of the wettest years ever, we've fed the cows in here for 24 hours a day on several occasions because it was just too wet to get out in the pasture. It's also saved our pasture. It's saved us some pugging up the pasture. At least with the barn, you've got a big enough area where they can all go down and lay down in the shade. If you've just got a few trees, you end up with about 350 cows trying to pile under a tree. And then you get this great big slushy concentration of manure. And probably it's also along creek edges, and you're likely to have runoff going into the river or into the creeks. So one thing, if they go back into the barn, any manure is deposited back into the compost so that eventually it could be used and put back onto the farm as fertiliser. When you come to building a loafing barn, there is no shortcuts. You have to build it to the proper specs. You have to have the slope of your roof right, you have to have the ventilation right, you have to have the fans, and you have to have the right amount of compost in the barn when you start off. That was the most important thing. With the composting process, it's quite amazing because we thought that the shed would fill up with compost, like with the manure. We use it probably 3 or 4 months of the year, and it's never got much more than the half metre that we originally put in it. So I think we'll go on for years and never have to clean it out. And if we did, it's either a saleable product or we could put that back on the farm. We've gradually developed the irrigation on this farm. We have more demand on our actual water supply because town water is looking at tapping into the Patterson River that we're on. So our reliability of supply of the water mightn't be as good going into the future. Over the last couple of years, we've gradually been converting to operate with centre pivot irrigations. They're a lot more labour efficient. They're also a lot more energy efficient, and they are more water efficient, which we're actually watering another 50 hectares with the same amount of water that we used to use. We do try to keep things simple, but when we see good technology, that's what we try to use, especially as far as labour efficiency. So we're using more and more technology as we move forward. We've got a 25 kilowatt solar array on one of our sheds. We don't feed any into the grid. We use all of it through the dairy or in the shed here to run the fans. We use a lot of energy for irrigating, but the biggest trouble with irrigation is, you might irrigate for 3 months and then you might have a couple months off and you just can't feed it back into the grid because it's just too much power. So yeah, we definitely need to look at batteries, and if we could do that, maybe we could trickle it back into the grid in off-peak times. About 4 years ago, we installed these activity monitors on our cows. It measures rumination, the distance they walk, the time they're resting, and the time that they spend eating. It's one of the best investments that we've made on the farm. When we got them, we were visually inspecting them and checking the monitor as well. But it's got to the stage now where we don't even bother visually checking them. Now I can see what cows are on heat and then mate on that. With our pastures, we vary them each year depending on what the forecast is from the Bureau of Meteorology and from the Farming Forecaster website. So this year when they predicted La Nina, we decided that we weren't going to grow any lucerne. We went back to more annual ryegrasses and the forage oats, and that seems to have paid off because we would have lost it. I can just log in to the Farm Forecaster network and I can see what the temperature is, what the wind is, what the humidity is. It also records the rain. It's quite interesting to look back to see what the average is. It can tell you what the average for the month is and what you expect to get. July, we ended up with 266 millimetres compared to 67 millimetres average, which was the wettest July here for 112 years. We've had to adapt, which in a way has probably encouraged us to look at our irrigation. It's encouraged us to look at our sheds. It's encouraged us to look at our cow management. So that has set us up very well for any future climate changes. What we're doing is not a huge amount, but it will make a huge amount of difference overall. The climate benefits, animal welfare is going to benefit, our hip pocket's going to benefit, and the value on our farms is going to benefit as well.